I was diagnosed when I was 32, about 2005, and it was really, I think, the worst journey of my life. It took about 9 months for doctors to really diagnose what was wrong with me. I was vomiting a lot. I had pains. I had bloody stools. And I was losing blood quite rapidly, so having to be admitted in hospital like every second week or so. And unfortunately, for the team of doctors that was attending to me at the time, they just didn't think, because of my age, they didn't think to test for colorectal cancer, until I went to get second opinion. And so this is one of the things that I always say, that, the fact that you used to a doctor doesn't mean you have to stay with them. If your situation is not improving, you have to go and get second opinion. The second doctors, fortunately, they did the right diagnosis. I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. Unfortunately, because it was a bit late, it was stage 3. So I had to go for emergency surgery to remove a fist-sized tumor on my ascending colon. I think that was really the beginning of my journey with cancer. It wasn't the easiest to accept, to be honest, because then you start questioning yourself and God, why me? What did I do so wrong that I deserve this? Because it really is a painful journey. And it's got a big impact on the family unit as well, because everybody does get impacted. I mean, I was told I had 4 months to live. You can imagine what that did to my family, and my daughter at the time was 6 years old. Obviously, I was so afraid and started asking myself so many questions. How's this child going to survive? Who's going to look after them? Am I properly insured? So it's everything that just goes through your mind very quickly. It's quite depressing. So you have to surround yourself with positive people, look for information.
Colorectal cancer, also known as colon cancer, rectal cancer, or bowel cancer, is one of the most common cancers that affect adults worldwide and is the 4th most common cancer in South Africa. Now, colorectal cancer is the 4th most common cause of cancer death. Nearly 1.4 million new cases were diagnosed in 2012, accounting for over 600,000 deaths a year. Now, 90% of colorectal cancers occur in people aged 50 and older. Now, World Cancer Day is an international day marked on February 4th to raise awareness of cancer and to encourage its prevention, detection, and treatment. This year's theme, I Can, We Can, acknowledges that everyone has the capacity to address the cancer burden. So today we discuss colon cancer. We'll be joined in studio by a surgeon that specializes in colorectal surgery, a specialist clinical and radiation oncologist, a health specialist from the Cancer Association of South Africa, a colon cancer survivor and his wife, and she will share with us her experience and the impact on family life, living with colon cancer survivor. Now, be part of the show by asking the panel some questions or just sharing your views with us. The number to call is Johannesburg 714-6918 or 6919. You can also tweet us at SABC Health Talk or simply just interact with us on our Facebook page, SABC Health Talk. So sit back, relax, and learn from this bumper show ahead, coming to you just after a short break. I'm Dr. Silla Mataum, and this is Health Talk.
Over the next 13 weeks, we'll be taking 16 ordinary single South Africans on an epic journey. A journey to face their fears and grueling challenges, but ultimately a journey to find love and claim the grand prize of 100,000 Rand. Welcome to the longest date.
16 strangers are randomly paired to take on one of the most demanding dating games on television.
Be careful out there. It is dangerous.
The newly matched couples will soon find out their strengths and weaknesses as they tackle timed obstacles to avoid the dreaded save yourself task.
In my life, did I never think that I would be able to eat whatever the creepy crawlies was that I just ate.
But some of the challenges are a tad sweeter.
And good lips.
Love is love. It comes in all forms, shapes, sizes, colors.
Join us from the 11th of February for the ultimate dating game, The Longest Date, exclusive to SABC 3.
A meteorite hit the Earth 2 million years ago, creating an enormous impact of crater, about 10 kilometers in diameter, near Fredefort in the Free State. 100 kilometers southwest of Johannesburg, now known as the Vredefort Dome, a South African World Heritage Site. The meteorite is said to have been larger than Table Mountain and caused a 1,000 megaton blast of energy. The impact would have heated about 70 cubic kilometers of rock and have increased the Earth's oxygen levels to a degree that made the development of multicellular life possible. The world has about 130 crater structures of possible impact origin. The Vredefort Dome is the largest in the world, followed by Sudbury Crater in Canada and the Chicxulub Crater in Mexico.
It's Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, the fourth most common cancer in South Africa. F.W. de Klerk was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2006. He shed some light on his experience in order to raise awareness about this not so glamorous and lesser known cancer.
I never knew that I was at risk for cancer. There was no cancer in my family. And I went for my annual checkup just after I turned 70 years old. And for the first time, it was decided I should have a colonoscopy. And when I came out of the colonoscopy theater, it was diagnosed. So it was like lightning striking out of the blue. I never had symptoms, and when my colon cancer was discovered as a result of the colonoscopy, I was advised that we should operate immediately. I was successfully operated, but then had other complications. My lungs gave in, which had nothing to do with the cancer. So I was in an induced coma for 10 days and was very weak when I came out of it. But as far as the cancer is concerned, I was in very good hands. I suggest that anybody being diagnosed, make sure that they come under care of a good oncologist. And I was accompanied by my oncologist and by my physician in a wonderful way. So my experience has not been bad. I did take chemo, not through the veins, but in pill form. The side effects weren't all that bad, and I'm glad I did it. I'm so grateful that I have now been declared to be clear of cancer after 7 years. My advice to people is, don't wait too long. Make sure that you undergo, with regard to the colon, colonoscopies at regular interviews after the age of 40.
All right, so to understand a lot more about this subject of colorectal and cancer, it's a great pleasure to welcome our guests. First up is Dr. Mohammed Alimia, who's a general surgeon who specializes in colorectal surgery. Now, Dr. Alimia is based at Garden City Hospital here in Johannesburg. Welcome to Health Talk, Dr. Alimia.
Thank you.
All right, and of course, with Dr. Alimia is no stranger to this show, Professor Michael Herbst, who's a health specialist from the Cancer Association of South Africa. Welcome to Health Talk once.
Thank you for having me again.
All right. Perhaps let's start with you, Dr. Alimia, and let's start with the basics. I did allude to the fact that colorectal cancer, sometimes people call it colon cancer, sometimes bowel cancer. What is the correct term? What is colorectal cancer?
Colorectal cancer is basically the same cancer, adenocarcinoma.
Yes.
But the management-wise, it is different from colon to the rectum.
Yeah.
That's why they divided into colon and rectal cancer.
Okay.
But in the old textbook, we see the colorectal cancer is the same textbook.
Right.
And same chapter.
Okay. So if anybody says, I had bowel cancer, it's the same thing as saying colorectal cancer.
Not necessarily. Bowel cancer, you can get a cancer in the small bowel also.
Right.
Small bowel is separate cancer.
Okay.
The management is separate than the colorectal cancer.
All right. So perhaps let's for the sake of our viewers, let's just, explain what where is the colon? Where do you find the colon? Are there different parts of the colon in our body?
Colon and the rectum, you call it large bowel.
Large bowel.
It's the distal part of the colon. Right. As a whole, our GIT starts from the mouth to the anus.
Yeah.
Right. Then initial part is the we call it food pipe. Food goes to the stomach. The stomach, they digest the food, store the food. Then they release to the small bowel. The duodenum, then the small bowel. Small bowel is around 6 to 7 meters long. When all the processing has been done there.
So another term for small bowel, small intestine.
Small intestine, yes.
Right. Okay.
Then after the small bowel ends, it ends in the initial part of the colon. It's the cecum.
Right.
It starts in the right side of the abdomen. Going all the way up, we call ascending colon. And from there, transverse colon ends up in the left. From there, descending colon and sigmoid colon. And the rectum is the last 20 or 18 centimeter of
that opens up into the anus.
In the anus. There's also a storehouse. They store all the stool there.
Right. Okay. So, Prof, I shared some figures in the beginning. And obviously, you know, we said that in South Africa it's also quite common. We always talk about, you know, the other common cancers, you know, breast cancer and all of that. And we don't tend to talk a lot about colorectal cancer.
It's a pity that we don't.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at the moment it's the number 3 cancer in women in South Africa. And it's become the number 2 cancer amongst men in South Africa.
Yeah.
And we know that only those that have been histologically diagnosed, they entered into the registry. And according to the 2014 stats, which is the latest stats we have, about 4,500 people in South Africa were diagnosed in 2014. And unfortunately, we still have the combination of colorectal. So we don't know exactly how many were colon and how many were rectal cancers. But 4,500 is a huge figure.
And I suppose as cancer, I mean, you do come across quite a lot of cases of colorectal cancer.
We do. And I'll tell you that previously it was one of the cancers that we very seldom heard of. And now every 10th, 15th call that I receive will be somebody making inquiries. They've been diagnosed or they're on their way. What can they expect because they are suspected of having colon cancer? So it is really becoming very, very common.
All right. So, Dr. let's talk about the clinical signs and symptoms. People watching this program will say, well, how do I know that, you know, I may be having cancer? What are the typical signs and symptoms, perhaps?
You see the cancer symptoms and signs. The colon is big. So in early stage of the cancer, you could be symptom-free. All right? So the most common signs and symptoms are usually rectal bleeding per rectum. All right? And
so
if the cancer is spread,
if you look at, you know, your stuff after, you know, in the toilet, if you see a little bit of blood, that might be a sign.
It's a worrying sign. But if patient still might have a cancer, if there is no rectal bleeding, the right-sided colon cancer, they bleed, microscopic bleeding. They might not have a rectal bleeding. But if you test the blood, you see the blood is showing the hemoglobin is low, but he's anemic. That is a worrying sign. He must be investigated why he is anemic. Johannesburg, you know, 1.7 kilometers above the sea level. Here, hemoglobin should be 16, 17.
So just to put it in simpler terms, we're saying that you can see bleeding, which is overt. You can see it's red blood, but sometimes you may not see the blood, that it might be mixed in the stool and only can be seen through a microscope. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and also the laboratory result, low hemoglobin. That should be a worrying sign to investigate why patient has got low hemoglobin.
So what are the clinical what's the clinical course then? If somebody diagnosed with colorectal cancer, early versus late?
All right. If early cancer diagnosed, then the first line of treatment is to remove the cancer.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll talk a little bit about treatment a bit later. What I wanted to find out is what normally happens to somebody who's been diagnosed with colorectal cancer, say at an early stage versus someone who's diagnosed at a late stage.
Okay. The modality of early stage and late stage of the treatment is the early stage cancer if you diagnosed, still you do the staging.
Okay.
The staging, first thing is the diagnosis. The first line of diagnosis is to do the colonoscopy and take the sample from the cancer. Once the sample is sent to the lab, lab will confirm that it's a cancer. Then you do the staging. Staging means how far the tumor is spread. It's spread locally, it's spread distally. Like how you do that? In rectal cancer, we always do the CT scan and MRI to see the locally advanced cancer because rectum situated in very small space down there in the body. So you have to find out how far spread there. Can we downstage? Downstage means can we give something to make it smaller, make it resectable. Colon cancer, usually it doesn't have a problem because abdomen is a big space. So if you diagnose early stage, first line of treatment, remove that tumor. But you have to do the staging. Okay, local spread. The distant spread you do is the spreading in the abdomen, spreading in the liver, spreading in the lung, spreading in the bone. We have different tests for that, do the staging.
So as we always say, the earlier it's detected, the better, Prof.
Absolutely. I mean, there is nothing like being cancer aware. We saw FW talking about it and also urging people, be aware. And I always say to people, know your bodies from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. If something is different today than it was last week or last month, have it seen too. And this includes, and you so correctly refer to it, that even when you pass a stool, don't just flush. Have a look. If you pass urine, first have a look and see the color and don't just flush, because that's part of knowing your body, because you will notice that there's something different and have it seen too.
It's on that note that we'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk impact, causes and risk factors. Please stay with us.
Life can throw all sorts of surprises at you, often when you least expect it. Sorry, Mom. That's why it's important to have medical cover. Me? I didn't want just any medical scheme. I wanted a scheme that I could rely on, that I could talk to at any time, that I could afford. I didn't just get medical aid. I got medical paid.
Good. Supercars, they're the pinnacle of design.
This to me was something completely different.
Engineering.
It really feels like a big go-kart.
And price.
$12 million.
Wow. Well, what makes a car a supercar?
It's an exaggeration of everything that's cool.
How you doing, Jay?
Can you give me a ride back to LA?
To find out, I take a ride with Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec in one of the most iconic cars of the 80s.
When you want to be a somebody, you buy a Ferrari. When you are a somebody, you buy a Lamborghini.
I get a one-on-one with the man behind the one-to-one. What was your biggest obstacle? Everything. But it isn't all about high speed and handling, as Nick Cannon will attest. Why a supercar?
Because girls like it.
And finally, I'll show you what was voted the greatest car of the 20th century.
Jay Leno's Garage, Tuesdays at 8:30 on 3.
We're going to introduce you to a group of folks whose lives have been changed by a magical number, 1 million. Each of them, through creativity, lots of hard work, and a bit of luck, has started a $1 million business. In some cases, close to $100 million in revenue. And they've all done it by taking an otherwise ordinary idea and turning it into an extraordinary success story.
How I Made My Millions, Mondays at 8:30 on 3.
Welcome back. We're talking colorectal cancer with our special guest, Dr. Mohammed Alimia, who's a colon general surgeon who specializes in colorectal surgery based at the Garden City Clinic. And we're now joined by two special guests. First is Corneille Duploy, who's on a wheelchair. Now, Corneille was diagnosed with colon cancer some 31 years ago, and he's going to share with us the experience of living with colon cancer, or at least at that time being diagnosed with colon cancer. And of course, he's accompanied by his wife, Krista, who's also going to give us a perspective of what it is like to care for and live with someone who was diagnosed with colon cancer. Now, before that, though, Dr. Libya, let's start. I mean, people say, what causes colorectal cancer, or who's at risk of developing cancer?
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, say the risk factor for colorectal cancer. We divide it in two groups: genetically determined cancer and non-genetically and environmental or acquired factors.
Okay.
Right. So genetically determined cancer is around 15 to 20%. But 1 in 5 patients they have been cancer. They will get cancer from genetically determined genes from the family.
Okay.
We divide them also. We call it Lynch syndrome 1 and 2, and FAP, familial adenomatous polyposis.
So what we're basically saying is that genes play a role. Sometimes if you come from a family where there's cancers, you might get cancer. All right, let's just talk to, just stop there for a while and let's take Nelly on the line. Nelly, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
We're good. How are you, Nelly?
I'm fine.
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask the question?
Yes.
I've got a problem. I've got a problem in my stomach.
Yes.
I will have an epigastric pain, which is very much sharp.
Yes.
And then after that, I would feel like tired and I would feel very hot.
Yeah.
And then after that, I will have an itch to go to the toilet. In the toilet, I will have like loose stool, very much offensive. I don't know what will be the cause, whether it's a sign of colon cancer or what.
Is there blood? Do you see blood in your stool?
No, it doesn't have blood. It's just a yellow color and very much offensive.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you very, very much for a question. Very quickly, I mean, it doesn't sound like colon cancer, epigastric pain, and then, she has loose stool.
She has got a loose stool. So there must be some reason to have a loose stool.
Yeah.
Loose stool is normally, it is not the signs and symptoms of colon cancer, but they can get loose stool if, especially rectal cancer, we call it spurious diarrhea. It's not a diarrhea, but you have a diarrhea, but it needs to be investigated.
Okay, so Nelly, the message is that it's unlikely to be cancer. However, if it doesn't settle, please go and consult your doctor as soon as possible. Okay, let's now talk to our special guest, Corne Duploy. Corne, welcome to Health Talk. Just tell us about yourself. When were you diagnosed with colon cancer?
Well, I've got to do a quick calculation here.
Yeah. It's quite a while ago. Let's help you.
I'm 88 now, and that was
1988.
1980, yeah.
1988.
30 years.
Yes.
So it's about 31 years ago. So what did it mean to you at the time? What actually happened?
We had a rather poor exercise where we went on board a boat in the sea between South Africa and the southern portion.
Yeah.
And yes, that's how we came out. We had this problem, and the boat sank, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. So Krista, I'm going to ask you to come in and help him a little, because I mean, obviously, it's quite a while ago, and we tend to forget some of these things.
Yeah.
So just take us back to at the time that he was diagnosed. What actually were the symptoms? What did he complain of anything?
Yes, the symptoms was when he went to toilet, he saw everything was black, and he didn't know why. And I said, well, he has to go to a doctor. And then they took him to the doctors, and they diagnosed, and they said that it was a cancer in the rectum.
Mm-hmm. What did it mean to him and yourself particularly?
I think to him it was a shock.
Yeah. What did it mean to you, Cornel?
To me, it was a shock.
Yeah.
There was no ways I could just say, "Oh, don't worry, let's just carry on." It was sick. We went to COPS. We went to various doctors, tried this, tried that.
Yeah.
Exercises here and exercises there.
Yeah.
And eventually it was decided that it may be colon cancer.
Yeah. All right.
And that was difficult because I was not very well in that type of thing. I was good in my job, but it was getting me from the top. So
must have been difficult, Krista. I'm going to come back to you now. Let me just take Princess on the line from Gauteng. Princess, welcome.
Hi.
Hello, Princess.
Okay, I'm calling on behalf of my grandfather. He has severe diarrhea. It's been going on for months.
Right.
Almost a year, actually.
Right.
Yes, and his stools are black. He's been to clinics, doctors, and everything. Nothing helps. I would like to know if it's colon cancer or what.
Okay. Thank you so much for the question. Dr. Alimia?
It's the same. We come back to that he has got a diarrhea.
Yeah.
The cause of the diarrhea must be investigated. Unlikely to have a cancer, but the cancer can give you sometime diarrhea, but not like this.
Yeah.
So he need an investigation. He need a colonoscopy, plus a stool test, and find out what is the cause of the cancer.
Okay. And that is just the stools are black, and it's unlikely to be lower down in the colon, correct?
Stool is black. No, it depends on where is the bleeding. Bleeding from the lower end of the body, it should be fresh red blood. Upper end should be black, dark. Yeah.
So the message then, Princess, is that please go back to the clinic or your doctor and make sure that you're seen by a specialist to investigate what the cause of the diarrhea is. Now, Krista, let's come back to you. I mean, obviously it was difficult for him being diagnosed with colon cancer, but take us through from your perspective now, supporting and caring for somebody who's now just had, this cancer diagnosis, and take us through what actually happened thereafter.
Well, he went to the doctor, and then the doctor sent him to the specialist, of course, and then they found out that it was cancer that he had in the rectum, and then he said that he has to have a colostomy, and I didn't know what it was, and when he came home and he told me that he has the colostomy now, he has to have a colostomy, and he had to explain to me what it is, because I never knew about it, never heard about it. And I just decided there and then, that evening, that whatever happens, we have to live with it. Because I don't know it, he knows what it is. And I promised him that as from that day, I'll see to the colostomy. I'm in charge of the colostomy. And 31 years later, it's still the same. So I think he took it easy because he knew what it was. But really, we live with it, and we've done plenty of things, and we came through it. So I just accepted it as part of my life, and I think he did too, and that's why we can live with it.
So tell us a bit about how you then look after that colostomy then, or perhaps for the sake of our viewers, let's ask Dr. Alimia to explain what colostomy is.
Colostomy means the colon bringing out to the skin. Outside the body, and put a bag there, control the stool output.
And
what does it mean? You are diverting your anal canal to the skin.
To the bag.
To the outside, not the anal canal, to one of the side of the body. So that he can have a control, clean, and have to change it.
Okay.
Now, here what you can see, he got a colostomy for 30 years. He didn't have an operation.
Yes.
He didn't have the operation for the rectum.
Yes, he had.
So then he had operation to remove the rectum,
the colon,
and he also removed the sphincter, anal canal, and it's a permanent end colostomy.
Okay.
What they did, most likely the cancer was very low down in the anal canal. They cannot separate the cancer with the sphincter. They removed the cancer, removed the rectum, removed the sphincter, everything, and then closed the bottom.
Okay. So diverting it out into
and
the
then
bag.
bringing the colon at the one side, a permanent end colostomy for life.
Okay. All right, let's take Renee from Durban. Renee, welcome.
Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for this wonderful show.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, doctor. We have a family friend that's actually an angina patient, and he's been in and out of hospital, had a stent put in, but they have family history of colon cancer, and he does pass, blood in his stools every now and again. I'm saying, under the treatment of physicians and cardiologists, is there not a specific test that they can request to eliminate this cancer, if there is any? Because we do know he is on Altrasec to treat the gastritis due to acidity in his body. Is there no test that he can request from his physician or cardiologist to eliminate cancer?
All right, Dr. Alimia, you heard the question.
The angina and cardiology is one problem, cancer is another problem. But he can go for a colonoscopy and other investigation to rule out the cancer. It's not difficult. All you need, ask the cardiologist when he is fit for a simple sedation to do the colonoscopy. That will help him to find out whether he got a cancer or no cancer, or what is his problem, why he is bleeding per rectum. They will find out the answer.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to our dear friends Krista and Corne. How then do you look after this colostomy? On a daily basis?
On a daily basis, I've started at Sister Hool She was with the Cancer Association.
Right.
She showed me what to do the first day when I had a look at it, and she told me how to look properly. And I wash it with clear water and soap, a specific soap that I use, and I see that it's always clean. And the bags that we get is from the Cancer Association. You get the two different bags, the one that they call a daily bag, and the other one is a drainable bag. So days like this, he wears the daily bag, because that helps him. There's no problem with it, with the stomach thing. But we really look after it, and I think that's the main thing of a colostomy. Accept it and look after it like you look after your skin. Am I right?
But the important message
it's part
here
of
is
the
that
life. It's part of his life.
He's been cancer-free for many, many years. What we're talking about is the aftermath of the surgery to remove the cancer. But he's cancer-free and he's lived a normal life for many, many years.
Absolutely.
And how do you feel now, Cornel?
I feel fine, thanks. I don't deal with it really.
Yeah.
The only doing I'm actually calling, I would give a whistle to and let my wife understand.
It is.
That something has got to be done to this thing.
Yeah.
No, but she handles it perfectly well. She's done places in the world where we went on this boat that we said. We were on board the boat.
I'll tell you what, we're gonna unfortunately run out of time, and I want to thank you very much for agreeing to be part of the show and sharing your experiences with us. And I can only wish you well for the many more healthier years that you're going to live. Thank you so much. Okay, time for another quick break. When we come back, we talk prevention and later on treatment. Please stay with us.
Bona fela. Go jewa loto.
Happy birthday to me!
Sibuku. Ifsiboko. Chesa wena.
Thank you. You're delightful. Especially for me.
Au, Faratu woman. Palatlhana.
Fast. No.
Nka bona monyako o buile. Nka potela hang.
Morning. Come join us on DSTV channel 156, SABC Hong Kong.
If you're busy doing cough,
what?
Look at what you say.
First of all, I'm just gonna say what I want to say. Hey, you are an arrogant.
Only issues.
The drama, man, it's from many sides.
You're not happy, just leave.
I need some of that.
The Shade. Trending SA. Mondays to Thursdays at 10:30 on 3.
Okay, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. If you've just joined us, we're talking colorectal cancer. And our special guest today, first up, Dr. Mohammed Alimia, a general surgeon based at Garden City Clinic. And we now welcome Dr. Gulza Malik, who's a specialist clinical and radiation oncologist, also based here in Johannesburg. Welcome to Health Talk, Dr. Malik.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And good afternoon, viewers.
Okay. And of course, we still have Professor Herbst from the Cancer Association of South Africa. Gentlemen, in the previous segment, we started talking about the risk factors, and you quite rightly said, look, genetics play a role. We didn't have time to go into the environmental side of things as risk factors. But before that, let's take Dora on the line from Johannesburg. Dora, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Mtaung, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dora?
I'm good, thank you. I have a question.
Sure.
Say, for instance, you eat your food.
Right.
And you have to pass the stool.
Yes.
But then it happens that you don't pass the stool. What could be the problem?
You mean you're constipated?
Yeah, constipated and nothing is happening. You don't even feel like going for a stool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's ask the.
I will listen to.
Yeah. All right. Just carry on watching. There's somebody. I think causes of constipation. Yeah.
Yeah, that is not normal. I mean, you don't feel too good about it. It's not a normal bowel function.
Yeah.
Bowel must work.
Yeah.
Like, depending on your diet, your lifestyle, your food.
Yeah.
Everything counts here.
Yeah.
So if you really don't go to the toilet, then please consult one of the gastroenterologists and find out why your bowel is not working.
Okay.
Okay. That we defined is a constipation. There is a definition of constipation. I mean, layman term is constipation.
Depending on what's normal for her, of course.
Yeah. Yes. Constipation is not a normal thing. It needs to be investigated.
All right. Okay. So, Dora, I hope the message is quite clear. If it's away from what's normal for you, please consult as soon as possible. All right. So, are there any risk, before we talk prevention, are there any environmental risk factors?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically, there are a lot of risk factors which we can change it, and that's important. Right. You know that, and some of the risk factors which we can't change it.
Right.
So one of the risk factors is obesity. That is important. Overweight being it is one of the major risk factors, right. Not only in colon rectal cancer, other cancers as well. Mm-hmm. So it is important to reduce your weight. Weight should be normal.
Right.
So fizzy drinks, high fat diet. Mm-hmm. These are not really good. Even we have to cut on carbohydrates as well. Mm-hmm. So we have to maintain our weight within normal limit. Then there's lack of exercise. Mm-hmm. That's important as well. Yeah. So all of us, we have to have that exercise 3 to 5 days in a week, and between half an hour to 1 hour. And if it's half an hour vigorous exercise, if it's normal activity, about 1 hour, that's very, very important. So then high fat diet, as I mentioned, that fried food, they're not good, not good at all. Right. Then there's smoking. Yeah. Smoking is a risk factor, not only for lung cancers, we know that, and some other cancers. Smoking is also risk factors for colorectal cancer as well. Then the alcohol, alcohol is also in excess. It is also one of the risk factors for the colorectal cancer. Yeah. Red meat like pork, it's also risk factors for the colorectal cancers. Right. These are the risk factors which we can avoid it.
Yeah. I mean, Prof, we keep talking about these things almost all the time. In that, so, what's the level
short
of
little things that I would like to add.
Sure, please
to what
go
Dr.
ahead.
Malik said. Apart from red meat, we also have to take care and absolutely minimize the intake of processed meats.
Right.
Because we know the chemicals that are added to make them last longer, etc., to preserve them, they're not healthy for us. So that is also very important. Then as far as age is concerned, we always used to say age was one of the factors which we cannot control. Yeah. But latest research now shows, and I had an alert yesterday, that from the United States of America, they've now found that there's a great increase in colorectal cancer in the United States of America between the age of 25 and 40. But then they add to that what Dr. Malik has also referred to, it is very closely linked to being overweight and obese. So that is something that we can do something about.
Yeah. Quite interesting. I mean, all of these lifestyle issues that we keep talking about all the time, they link to a whole lot of conditions, not just cancer, but many other conditions. Now, then we say to people, okay, we started saying, all right, we're talking prevention. It means we're saying all of these things that we're mentioning about lifestyle. If you want to prevent, you obviously need to change your lifestyle accordingly, But then at the same time, we're saying people should, as we say, know their numbers, know their bodies as well. Let's talk a bit about screening. What do we recommend here? Let's start with you, Doctor.
The first line of screening is you do the colonoscopy.
Colonoscopy,
It's the best investigation because we can see, we can take a sample. Yeah. Right? And sometimes there is therapeutic options. If there is obstructed, you can put a stent there. Yeah. So the diagnostic and therapeutic purpose, screening for colorectal cancer is a colonoscopy.
But colonoscopy is quite costly, Dr. Malik.
No, there are other tests as well. Colonoscopy is obviously a very good and gold standard, but fecal occult blood, that is important and very simple.
What does that mean in simple terms? Yeah?
But stool, we have to send stool to the lab.
So people watching this program, it means take a sample of your stool, take it with you to the lab or to the doctor who will send it to the lab.
But what they must do, they must not have at least 5 days, 7 days before any anti-inflammatory drugs, even like Brufen, like aspirin, that's important. And 3 days before they must not have any red meat. That is important as well. And even vitamin C should be in, they must not take too much vitamin C as well before that. So otherwise there is a false positive test, that is important. So that's why, and there are different ways we can do it, stool test. One is simple way, the other one is through chemical reaction, which can tell you whether the bleeding is from the stomach or is from the colon, then we can concentrate on that way. Then it is DNA stool test, that is important. It's a little bit expensive, so that's what it is. So that can, the fecal occult blood test, that can about reduce, the mortality up to 30%, Then what Dr. Alamia said, that is very, very important, about 60 to 70%, that is, quite beneficial. And before that, there is other test as well, sigmoidoscopy, so where we can do sigmoid, we look into sigmoid, and also rectum as well. But on top of that, there is one virtual colonoscopy, which is through CT scan, where we can do a CT scan, and the other X-ray test is double contrast, barium enema. That is also important in, that.
So there's an array
screening.
of tests that are available. Okay, so who must test then, Prof? Who must screen? Earlier we said, common colon cancer is common in people aged 50 and above, but it can happen in
now we're seeing it amongst much younger people. But something that I would like to add here is we must be careful not to bring people under the impression that we can prevent cancer. I want to say it's practically impossible to prevent, but to lower the risk, that is what is so important. We can do a lot to lower our risk. And we have to do all these things that, as you said, apply to not only colorectal cancer, but to other cancers as well, and to our general health. And we have to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. And that is point number one.
Very, very, very point well taken, yes. I think it's important that we're saying, oftentimes, when we say prevention, sometimes we mean we may delay development of a condition, if it's a chronic condition, or lower the risk, as you say. Back to the question of colonoscopy and general screening, as we said, all right, at what age should you start screening?
The generalized age that we say to people is, especially if there is a history in the family or etc., definitely age 40 and not anything later than that. But my concern is that it is not available to more than 80% of South Africa's population. I have during the past 4 weeks received 3 telephone calls from people who are highly disturbed. They've been referred by their doctor to a public hospital for a colonoscopy because they suspected of having colon cancer. And 2 of them were sent back and said, you come back in 6 months' time and we'll see if we can fit you in. Then the 3rd person that called in the hospital said, we haven't got a camera. And it wasn't a small countryside hospital.
But how accurate is the stool tests? I mean, we spoke earlier about the issue of the colonoscopy being a little costly as compared to stool tests.
Well, it's an indication of a colonoscopy should be done. I don't think it's a definitive diagnosis, but it says there's something wrong, there is some blood somewhere which we do not know where it comes from. Let's have a look and see where.
Just your final word for the last 30 seconds?
For this scope, the age is different. Authorities have different, age limit. 50 is the one, 45 is the other one. But if there is high risk, that if there is family history of colorectal cancer, then we can do it even earlier. So that age, let's say the first degree relative has age at 60 or 50, then you have to do it 10 years before. So that's important. So in that way, and if there is a history of polyp, something like that, then we have to do it early, you know.
Just last question on colonoscopy. How often? I mean, if you do it once and it says negative,
and
do you have to do it again?
No, 10 years. Colonoscopy is 10 years. 10 years. But sigmoidoscopy is at 5 years. And fecal occult blood test, it should be 1 to 2 years.
1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think this is a good point for us to take a break. And when we come back, we can talk about different treatment options. Stay with us.
We've been talking about funeral cover for many years.
Now, let's meet some of the people who trust clientele to look after their loved ones. Why do you have a funeral plan?
Because I'm a single mother and my mom is helping me with my kids. So if I had to pass on, I don't want my mom or my family to struggle. I chose a clientele funeral plan because it's affordable and suits my budget. I will never stop paying my monthly premium. To me, paying my monthly premium is as important as buying groceries.
I chose clientele because they are an original. They've been around for a long time, and I know within my family are in good hands.
What is it that you want your family to do with the money when you're gone?
I told my family, I don't want a fancy funeral. They must come there for a cook sister and a sandwich, and then they must use the rest of the money for their future. I focus on my life and going forward, and I want my family to do the same with peace of mind, and that's why I am with clientele.
SMS RESPECT to 31043 and we'll call you back.
Clientele funeral plans pay out in 24 hours. We will send 200 Rand airtime when you claim. You can cover up to 13 people on one plan. Plans include grocery, unveiling, and transport benefit. 3 children are covered at no extra cost.
My family is everything to me. We're a team. We do everything together. We travel together. We wake up, we go to the gym together. Myself and my family, we have clientele. I would like a dignified funeral, and the rest should be invested for my children's future.
Why did you choose clientele?
I'm a farmer and I'm a businessman, and I know a good deal when I see one. Clientele is a good deal.
If you choose our ultimate plan, we will pay all your premiums back. Yes, all your premiums paid back on top of your cover amount.
Clientele funeral plans.
It's your final gift of love.
SMS RESPECT to 31043 and we'll call you back.
It was a journey of self-discovery.
It started as a call to adventure.
Some of us leaped at it, some of us refused the call.
But inspired by our ideas to make Mzansi better,
we all crossed the first threshold.
The final 6.
The road of trials began. Not only were our ideas tested, we were tested.
But on a mountain of truth, you never climb in vain. We embraced our shadows and conquered our fears.
It was no longer about us. We discovered our essence in selfless service. From the judges, I learned an unwavering steadiness of purpose. Look to nothing else, not even for a moment,
except to reason.
Leadership is not about the next election, but about the next generation.
From one day leader,
we learned,
and we became.
It is worrying indeed when any publication has to close down. So it is really getting tough from the point of view of lack of sufficient readership to the issue of social media.
How influential is the media still? Twitter, Facebook are influencing people far more than mainstream newspapers nowadays.
The media has greater responsibility compared to Twitter. The media itself is governed by certain codes and it must abide by those codes.
Threatened, attacked and killed. Journalists are also being imprisoned in record numbers around the world.
If you mention and name particular journalists, you actually put them at risk.
We were media activists, and I believe we still are today. A journalist is an endangered species today.
Watch Media Monitor Sundays at 9 a.m.
Okay, welcome back. We continue our discussion on colorectal cancer with our guests, Dr. Mohammed Alimia, general surgeon specializing in colorectal surgery, based at Garden City Hospital, Dr. Gulza Malik, specialist clinician and radiation oncologist, also based here in Johannesburg, and of course Professor Michael Herbst, health specialist from the Cancer Association of South Africa. Now, before we start our discussion on this segment, let's take Andrew on the line from Soweto. Andrew, welcome.
Yes, thank you. I was asking that I was diagnosed with gastritis about 20 to 25 years back.
Right.
Yeah, when the pain is really bad, now my stools are dark green to black. What could be the problem?
Okay.
With gastritis.
Excellent question. Thank you very much. So, if the sound wasn't too clear, but he's diagnosed with arthritis. I think he's on NSAIDs, on medication for a while, and his stools turn red, sometimes black. What could be the problem?
They could most likely be the gastritis or gastric ulcer may be the cause, because he's taking NSAID from the arthritis.
Right.
He can have a gastroscopy or upper GI endoscopy to see what's happening.
He could be having...
That is negative, gastroscopy negative, then he needs a colonoscopy.
Okay, all right. Unlikely to be cancer, Andrew, but it's more likely related to the medication that you're on for arthritis. So if it continues, please consult with your doctor. There are certain tests that can be done to determine exactly what it is.
Just to add on that one, now, the anti-inflammatory drugs, these are basically used for prevention of colorectal cancer. So it is unlikely, what he said, it is unlikely there's colon cancer, but it is because of the side effects of the treatment for arthritis.
All right. You wanted to say something earlier about colonoscopy.
There's a particular indication for colonoscopy. The standard guidelines, if there is no risk factor in the family, the American Gastroenterology Society, they advocate the first colonoscopy must be done at the age of 50 or earlier.
Okay.
If the colonoscopy is negative, then you can delay the next colonoscopy another 5 to 10 years.
Right.
But if any family member has got a colonic cancer, okay, then the rest of the family member should have colonoscopy done at least 5 to 10 years before the age of the family member has got a cancer. That means somebody has got 40 years in the cancer in the family. The rest of the family members should have colonoscopy done at 35 or 30 years.
Okay. All right. So here's somebody who's diagnosed with cancer. Okay. Let's talk the principles of treatment. What treatment options are there? Let's say we've gone through the diagnosis and it's been confirmed. Dr. Alimia?
So the modalities of treatment for colorectal cancer. One, surgical options. As a surgeon, I prefer to do that.
Yes. Of course, that's what you get paid to do, right? Cut it out. Yeah?
Then the volume of the cancer has gone. Then I can hand over the patient to Dr. Malik. Okay, he will deal with the less volume of cancer, so he can give some radiotherapy.
All right. Let's hear from him.
And chemotherapy.
All right. Let's hear from him. What modalities of treatment you...
I deal with basically radiotherapy and chemotherapy. And radiotherapy is basically, it depends on type, stage of the cancer. Also, whether it's a rectal cancer or is it colon cancer. In rectal cancer, basically, if it is stage 2 unfavorable and stage 3, we basically give a combination of chemo and radiotherapy. Radiotherapy is using of ionizing radiation and to the area, to the pelvis, where through a machine called linear accelerator. And patient can come about 5 to 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks daily. Radio. It's not really so much heavy like chemotherapy, but we combine two together, chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
I'm going to ask a little later about success of treatment, but first, and of course I'll come back to you with support. Let's take Gloria on the line from Pretoria. Gloria, welcome.
Good day, doctor. Thank you very much for the show.
Okay,
Yes, I believe that my grandmother and my mother actually have died on colon cancer.
Yes.
Because when they went to blood red. So now I'm having a problem whereby my stools are like greenish and yellowish most of the time. And then I've realized that my anal opening as well has also shrunk. So when I pass stools, it's like very, very thin. And sometimes it's like very painful. So I'm wondering, and sometimes I get like a pain in the middle of the stomach, just like that for about a few seconds and it's gone. So I'm wondering if I might be having the same problem and what can I do? Where can I go?
Okay. Very quickly, Dr. Alimia, we haven't got much time.
Yes, please consult one of the gastroenterologists or have a colonoscopy done. and they will give you answer what's happening.
Okay. All right. What support are given to people who've undergone treatment, Prof?
You know, the major thing that will come from my side is people must please, if they have the luxury, to consult with a registered dietitian. We tend to forget how important, together with the treatment that these good gentlemen are responsible for, we neglect the accompaniment of what the role that diet plays. And if you don't have access to a dietitian, please consult the cancer website, where we have a fact sheet that gives you guidance for nutritional guide for people diagnosed with colon cancer. Consult that, but if you can, talk to a dietitian. Diet is so important to support the wonderful work that the surgeons and then the radiological and medical oncologists do.
What about emotional and psychological support?
Very important. We saw it in segment 2. We saw the importance of the wife. And my heart goes out to people who don't have that psychological support. And we don't have in this country enough medical social workers who can fulfill that role as well, because it is so important to start from the day of diagnosis to become involved and to provide that psychological and emotional support to everybody who is diagnosed with any debilitating disease.
Okay. Gentlemen, we've seen that treatment of colorectal cancer can be successful. Is that a fair statement to make?
No, definitely. At the moment, about 66% colorectal cancers are curable in general, but it depends on stage of the cancer. So if it's stage 1, 90% cure rate, but if it is stage 4 disease, then cure rate is quite low. So earlier is the better. Definitely cancer is...
I think that's the best point to leave this discussion on. The earlier, the better. And that live a healthy lifestyle and screen earlier if you're at risk. And of course, just, at about the age of 50, start at least screening once in a while. Okay, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. And I think, it was everybody listening or watching the show learned quite a lot from this. And thank you so much. And for you folks at home, thank you so much for staying with us. And, that's how we're going to end this show today. We're back on the screens in a week's time. Remember, same time, same place. And I'm Dr. Salam Matong. Until next time, please do take care.